Hey there, welcome back to The Truth Is Somewhere, a conspiracy theory podcast. My name's Corey, and this is Megan. And Megan, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about a bit of an internet legend folklore conspiracy deal.
Slenderman?
Bob? Not Slenderman.
Oh.
He is kind of on my list, but not
Okay.
Slenderman today. So it's actually black-eyed kids, or BEKs. The stories explain children ranging in age from 5 years old up to the late teen years, but they have entirely black eyes. So kind of like Dark Willow in Buffy, when her eyes, like, no people's nothing.
Okay,
It's
sure.
like big black orbs.
Mm-hmm.
The story of the BEKs starts in 1998 when Brian Bethel described his own encounter with them on a ghost-related email list. Bethel claims that in the spring or summer of 1996, he was sitting in his car in Abilene, Texas, filling out a check to drop in the night slot of his internet provider. There was a knock on his driver's side window, and there were two boys between the ages of 9 and 12 dressed in hooded sweatshirts standing outside his car. So he cracks his window, figuring that the boys were out begging for money. But he claims that once he was exposed to the boys, so once the window was cracked a little bit, he was gripped by, quote, soul-racking fear.
Oh.
Yeah. One of the boys told Bethel that they needed a ride. They had come into town to see Mortal Kombat, but had left their money at their mother's house and needed a ride back to their mom's house and back to the theater so they could see the movie. The movie theater was, like, right next door to the internet provider. So he was parked basically right outside the theater, and so he looked at the movie sign and then looked at the clock and noticed that the last showing of Mortal Kombat had already started.
Okay.
So by the time that he took the boys back to their mom's house and then brought them back to the movie, like, most of the movie would already be over.
Sure.
Bethel claims that the boy that spoke continued to try to reassure him with things like, it won't take long, we're just two little kids, and then finally he said, we don't have a gun or anything, which doesn't make you nervous, right?
I mean, from kids, they're doing
But you
what
already
they heard.
feel crippling soul-wracking fear?
It doesn't help, but I think it's understandable that a kid would be like, we don't have a gun or anything. Like, going to the extreme of what they know of.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Still weird, though.
Very weird.
Have we described these kids' eyes yet?
No.
Just that they have crippling fear.
Yep.
That he has
crippling fear.
Yeah.
So, this is where I get to the eyes. Bethel says that when he broke his gaze from the spokesman, which is what he named the kid that spoke, the kid's eyes were totally normal, but when he returned to looking at the kids, his eyes were totally black orbs.
Oh.
At this point, Bethel says he was inwardly screaming and absolutely terrified. He apologized to the kids and told them he couldn't take them to their mother's house. And as Bethel began to back the car away from where the boys were standing, the one who spoke said, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." And he was, like, angry. The little boy was super, super angry.
Mm-hmm.
Let us in. So at this point, Bethel squealed his tires the fuck out of there, and when he looked in the rearview mirror, the boys were gone. And he said he was moving way too fast for, like, them to have run away and him not see them.
Okay.
So he gets home, writes out his encounter, sends it out on this email list he's a part of, and basically it goes 90s viral.
I mean, that is a wicked mushroom strip.
Yeah.
Like, shrooms all the way.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Bethel was already an award-winning journalist.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, his original story was really well written and really well received.
Okay.
Because he was an award-winning journalist.
Yes.
But I knew that this was going to be one where you were like, this is ridiculous.
I mean, kids have black orbs in their eyes. It's logical.
Black orbs for eyes, not in their eyes.
Well, okay, sure. You're right. Black orbs for eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Logical.
Creepy.
Totally in the norm.
Totally in the norm. It happens every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. I see black-eyed kids all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, to internet culture, these become known as black-eyed kids, because the internet is not creative. Bethel admits he wouldn't have named them that, but that's what they've been dubbed, so he refers to them that way still.
Mm-hmm.
Bethel has been contacted by a lot of people with similar stories. He doesn't think all of them are true, but he says there are enough other stories to make him believe that what he encountered was not normal and there was something kind of paranormal going on.
Okay. Though if more people have reported this to him, and he says that it's not normal, the more people that report it, wouldn't that make it more normal?
Well, more normal, but, like, compared to...
What's normal? What's normal, Megan? Define normal.
Oh, we're getting into the deep stuff. I'm not going to define normal.
No.
Normalcy is not even real. So... Bethel has never found BEKs again. He isn't sure what they are, but he is 100% sure that if he had let them in his car, he probably would have died that night.
Oh.
He was filled with that kind of sense
sure
of impending doom.
That he knew his future at that moment.
Yes. If he had chosen to let the kids in his car.
He has no reason to doubt his thoughts at all.
No reason.
Okay, that's
no reason. No, that's he is sure that if he had let the kids in his car, he would have died. He's sure.
But he doesn't even know that they were killers.
No, but he had a big sense of terrifying impending doom.
Yeah. Like you do when you're on a roller coaster?
No.
Oh.
I know I'm not going to die when I get on a roller coaster.
You don't know that.
I do know that. I know that chances are really good that I'm going to walk away from that roller coaster perfectly fine.
True.
Anyway.
Anyways, back to the Black Eyed Peas kids.
I had the same problem the whole time I was typing. There's a million stories about other people encountering the Black Eyed Kids. Most of them detail someone home alone. That person hears a knock on the door and finds two children either asking to come inside or to use the phone. And the person in the house always experiences fear and dread and inevitably turns the creepy Black Eyed Kids away.
Oh.
Except, there are some cases of people not turning them away. One person recounts their experience with the kids in 2015 in rural Vermont. She was woken up in the middle of the night by a pounding on her door. She says at the time she lived down a long dirt road and it was in the middle of a snowstorm, so she thought that maybe somebody had spun out and needed help.
Sure.
So she looked out the window and could see footprints in the snow leading up to her driveway, but no signs of a car for hours. So the road was completely snowed over except for the footprints. And she could tell someone was standing outside the door, so she went to wake up her husband. As you do, because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
So as she's waking him up, the banging on the door starts again. Her husband got up and answered the door, and he finds two children about 8 years old, one boy and one girl. Mm-hmm. The girl had very long hair, and the boy had an outdated hairstyle. And the woman assumed they must have been from religious communities, such as the Mennonites.
Okay.
Because of the way they were dressed, but there was no, Mennonite colony close by.
Okay,
so how would they get there?
People travel.
Sure. So her husband asked the kids if everything was okay, and they refused to make eye contact but asked to come in. And she asked them where their parents were, and they replied that their parents would be there soon.
Okay.
The storyteller claims that she was scared, but against her instincts, she allowed the children into her home because
they're kids.
There's 8-year-olds in the middle of a snowstorm, and
yeah, you let them
they
in.
Walked here, so yeah, you let them in. She went into the kitchen to make the kids hot cocoa while her husband continued to ask the children questions in the living room. The kids would only continue to say that their parents would be there soon. So then the storyteller notices that their 4 cats were in hiding, or were on high alert with their hair raised. Mm-hmm. And normally, all of their cats were super friendly, and they never hid from anybody. And the one cat in particular that would, had its hair raised and was all pissed off was, the most curious, most friendly cat who, normally you would have accepted a child into your home, and the cat would have been like, "What's this? Who are you?
Who are you?
Will you pet me?
What am I?
What am I? What is Bax?" So she notices that. That's real weird about the cats.
Sure.
So when she walks, excuse me.
Yes.
When she walks back into the living room, she noticed that the kids had entirely black eyes. After seeing that, she was scared. The children asked to use the bathroom. So she sees their black eyes. She gets scared. They see she's scared, and they ask to use the bathroom.
Together.
Yes.
The boy and the girl.
The boy and the girl.
At the same time.
Yes, they asked to use the bathroom.
Yes.
So she leads them to the bathroom, and when she returned to the living room, she and her husband discussed the children's eyes. The husband thought perhaps they were very badly bruised from an accident.
Oh.
Because he remembers his brother when they were kids getting in a car accident, and his brother smashed up his face pretty badly, and for weeks his eyes were black.
Black, that's interesting. I was taking medication when I was in middle school, and they were capsulized powdered pills. And I remember I took one, and I would always drink down a whole glass of water, because I took them right before I went to bed, right? And, anyway, so I drink down this big old glass of water, and after you drink a big glass of water, you generally have to burp.
True.
Right, so, this one time, I burped, but the pill hadn't gone down all the way.
Oh, no.
But it had been long enough in the water that the capsule had dissolved, and when I burped, powder came out my nose and through my mouth, and it was probably the worst feeling I've had in my sinuses ever. And my eyes immediately went so bloodshot there was not an indication there was any white in my eye.
Oh my god.
Yeah. As far as black, though? I don't remember my eyes going black.
I don't know if he was just trying to make, like... He's trying to make a logical assessment, right? And he's like, well, maybe that's they're so oldly bloodshot, or they're so bloodshot that they got dark. Mm-hmm. And he's like, maybe we're just seeing that it's black because we're not in the right lighting.
Sure, I get that.
Logical explanation.
I'm also giving hey, this is my real world experience with losing the white in your eyes.
Yeah, it happens. That's something that does absolutely happen.
Yeah, you break enough blood vessels in your eyes and you go lose the white. Yeah.
So that was what he started to say, but then he got a nosebleed as he was saying it. She says he'd never suffered from nosebleeds and was convinced that it had to do with the kids while she went to grab him tissues. So then the power goes out.
Wait, who was convinced it had to do with the kids, her or him?
The girl. The woman. The woman thinks her husband's nose is bleeding because of the children.
Okay.
So the power then goes out, and the husband starts yelling for his wife, and she looks down the hallway towards the living room because she got up to get tissues for her husband's bloody nose. Mm-hmm. And the two kids are just standing there in the dark being real creepy.
Yeah.
And then they say, our parents are here, and they just walk out the front door, leaving it wide open behind them.
Oh.
So, wife and the husband go to the front door, and there were two men standing by a black car outside. The men were wearing black-colored suits and were both at least 6 feet tall. The husband waved at the men, but they didn't wave back, got in the car, and drove away with the children, and the power came on like half an hour later.
Oh. Did they ever contact the power company? This was 2015, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they contacted the power company. I have much as I've been told.
The power company would be able to tell you what was going on. Oh, it was a local outage, or...
Well, it was the middle of a snowstorm, so it's not really surprising that power would go out. But obviously this woman relates it back to the children.
Yeah. So as far as things are concerned, even if everything there was true, even if you explain the kids' eyes as if they've been in an accident, all of it could be a coincidence.
Sure.
And nothing bad happened.
Sure. It gets weirder, though.
Oh, I thought the story was over. No,
there's more to this story.
Okay, well then, please, continue.
Okay, I'll continue. You're just gonna think, God, it's all more coincidences. So over the next few months, 3 of their 4 cats went missing. The 4th cat, the one that was super curious and was hissing and like all poofy, had a hemorrhage and died in the house. Oh. So they came upon it and it was like in a pool of its own blood, which is sad. Mm-hmm. And the husband's nosebleeds became a regular occurrence. After going to the doctor, it was discovered that he had a very aggressive form of skin cancer that was usually linked to the overuse of indoor tanning beds, but the husband had never used a tanning bed. As of 2016, doctors believed he would be okay, but had no explanation for how it becomes so bad so quickly. Like, normally it's like years of overuse of tanning beds leads to this aggressive form of skin cancer, and he just, like, woke up with it, essentially. Mm-hmm. As for the wife, she also suffers from a series of ailments and is afraid she might die because she and her husband let the black-eyed kids into their home.
So
that's the end of the story.
So like, what is the kids are supposed to be, like, radioactive or something?
That's a theory.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's a theory.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this.
I know.
I don't know what to say.
I know. As soon as I started researching this one and writing it down, I was like, he's gonna hate this one.
I mean, it's not that I don't hate it. I find it interesting. Yeah. I actually find the wacky ones more interesting.
Yeah.
But it just sounds like when you watch those YouTube videos and someone uses the computer voice to explain something because they're afraid of you hearing their real voice and the FBI is going to link it back to them. I guarantee you some of our listeners know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this sounds like to me, where someone used the stereotypical male voice to tell us about the Men in Black and their black-eyed kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's part of the theory, actually, is the Men in Black thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, if the kids are real, they are not normal children. Obviously.
All kids are normal. They're allowed to express themselves however they want.
Sure. These are not possibly human children. How about we'll go with that?
Okay.
So one of the biggest theories is that they are aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
Obviously, little gray or green men are usually described as having large, entirely black eyes. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty easy link to make.
True.
Beyond that, we have stories like the one from Vermont where prolonged interaction with the children seems to cause cancer. and people appear to experience symptoms similar to those experienced after radioactive exposure, and those same symptoms also happen to people who claim to have witnessed a UFO in close proximity. In conspiracy circles, the symptoms that seem like radiation poisoning are referred to as moonburn syndrome.
Oh. Okay, so did you say the little green man?
Little green or little gray?
Gray. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Normally.
Well, because there's two prevailing.
Oh, is there two? I didn't know green was. I thought it was gray is like the actual.
Gray is what people who really believe in aliens actually think they are. Little green is just like a pejorative that people use.
Yeah. But gray. Mm-hmm. They're literally called the grays.
The grays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, actually, that's the first thing I thought of when I was reading that story from the woman who was like, my husband got a really aggressive form of skin cancer, and we can't explain why. And I was like, oh, radiation poisoning, UFOs, they're aliens. Like, this is the obvious logical jump if you're looking at it from the conspiracy point of view. Like, that's the thing that makes sense. So they could also be alien-human hybrids, which is why they look like normal kids, but have essentially been created as a new species. And the men in black quality of the parents who come to get the children makes some wonder about government interference. Perhaps they are some kind of escaped Area 51-esque experiment. I actually thought about Stranger Things.
Okay.
I was like, oh, they're like 11.
Yeah. Like the little girl. Yeah, sure.
Like crazy government human experiment children that escape every once in a while and terrorize some poor unsuspecting person, give it cancer.
Yeah, I just...
You just what, Corey?
I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. It's so... I feel like we need to get the X-Files song in here.
I thought about that too, because actually, there are episodes later in the X-Files when Scully like encounters real aliens and she gets nosebleeds all the time, and I was like, did they just take little bits and pieces of all the most popular science fiction and mash them together?
Maybe. Someone was trying to get internet famous again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we have other testimonies of the Black-Eyed Kids?
Oh, yeah, I don't have any more to read to you.
Okay.
There are thousands of them on the internet that I was just like, I'm not going to delve this deeply into this, because I already knew how you were going to feel about it. And I was kind of like, all of the stories are more or less the same.
Okay.
Like, there was one, there was one from a Marine who was in barracks. And I was going to tell that story, and I guess I'll tell a little bit of the story, because I think you'll laugh about it. He was a Marine, he was in some barracks, and he encountered a black-eyed child, or two black-eyed children, I can't remember.
Okay.
There was a black-eyed kid in there somewhere. And I was going to take this story because I was like, oh, somebody who might actually be a little more credible, right? Like, oh, he's a Marine. But then he starts his story off
he's a Marine, though.
He's a Marine, and he used to be Special Forces. And all I could think was like, oh, you're already just a fucking storyteller.
Yeah.
Like... Nobody is like, I'm a Marine and I used to be Special Forces. Actually, and I saw this thing inside.
All Marines are like that.
Like, it just was like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't believe you now because you came out and said you were Special Forces.
He's got a... Well, he thinks... People think that they have to lay their accreditations out to make them sound more impressive and thus sound more... believable or as a person you can trust.
Oh, his story was just one, and it was like a teenager, like a later teenager, real gangly, real skinny, and he was thinking that it was like I don't know how the Marine ranking system works.
Okay.
The low ranking E-nothing. An E-nothing. He was thinking it was an E-nothing standing out there, right? And so he was like, if you're looking for such and such, it's over there. Like, over in this other section of the base, you need to go that way. And, the guy wouldn't leave, and he was like, let me in. And then this Special Forces Marine was like, if you don't go away, I will come out there and kick your ass. Because he was like, this guy was real scrawny, and I could have, like... I mean, seriously, the whole story read like...
Jock Marine.
Like, Jock Marine wannabe, yeah. And I was just like, dude, maybe you had too much to drink that night. I don't know.
Maybe.
But there are literally thousands of stories from all walks of life.
I just wanted to know where the bathroom was!
Yeah. So another theory is that we can't ignore is that they have to ask permission to enter your space, like vampires. Mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm. And in some lore, they depict vampires with like the fully black eyes, like that.
Yeah, did Nosferatu have fully blackout eyes?
Oh, I don't think he did.
Yeah, it doesn't stand out to me.
No, but I know that it's been depicted that way in more like B-rated stuff.
Okay.
So, maybe the black-eyed kids are little vampire children.
Well, that's too bad.
But they don't actually need to drink your blood once they gain access to your home. Who knows? I don't know.
Or they don't need to. They can be in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
they've all shown up at night.
Was it both? Were they both at night? Mm-hmm. Oh, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, everything's at night.
Ooh.
I know. Another theory is that the BEKs are ghosts. Mm-hmm. This is mostly because there's an area of England that has a lot of BEK activity. And during the 1960s, that same area played host to a serial killer that preyed only on children.
Okay.
The area is also known as a hotspot for occultists, with lots of history regarding human sacrifices and dark rituals, dating back to those damn pagans again. Pagan on a pagan.
Pagan on a pagan.
Poor good Kevin.
Poor good Kevin. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like the thought process of like, oh, well, they're all just a bunch of kid ghosts because there was a serial killer that killed a bunch of kids in this area, but that doesn't explain why it happens in other areas. But I do like the thought process there.
Mm-hmm. I like to think, you haven't really explained it yet, but I like to think otherwise these kids are all very, like, kind of monotone and very well-behaved. Yeah,
they're, like, very calm. They're, like, strangely calm.
Hello. May we please come into your house?
Yeah, I think that's probably I think that might be, maybe that ups the creep factor a little bit when people do encounter them, if people do encounter them. Last little interesting tidbit that I'll leave you with is this. I actually really like this one. When Bethel first posted his story, he received a response from someone who explained that the children could actually be fae.
Well, that makes sense.
There are a set of fairies from Irish folklore that have black eyes, mm-hmm. and they were so feared that the person who wrote to Bethel explained that their great-grandmother would check the eyes of every newborn baby in the family to make sure that the eyes weren't black.
Oh.
So some people theorize that those fae prey on fear, and because we as humans no longer fear fairies, they have evolved to become something modern humans would fear.
Interesting.
So they've, like, picked and chosen things that they think modern humans would find scary, which I think is, like... I mean, given fae being tricksters and stuff, if they do feed on fear, like, that would be something a fae would do, right?
Yeah, I mean... I definitely don't believe this, but I do find the connection kind of fanciful.
Yeah.
I like, I've seen lots of pictures of fae, and sometimes fae are depicted with solid colored eyes, mm-hmm. solid black eyes, usually. Or like a deep, like, black-red.
Certainly no Tinkerbell.
No Tinkerbell. No, mm-mm.
It's a little more like a blood cap. Is that what they're called? Red cap. They have blood that come out of their caps.
I don't...
Something a little more scary on the fae spectrum.
Yeah, I don't have anything in mind as to what it could be, but I do know that I have seen pictures of mm-hmm. fae. And generally in folklore, well, up to a certain point, fae used to be kind of like this thing that you feared for sure, but it was more like equated to nature itself, mm-hmm. where they were like, don't mess with a fae because a fae will mess with you and it'll probably end up winning.
Well, maybe the fae are mad because we've trashed the planet.
Right, and then...
That's very understandable.
Right, but I mean, later on, back then in the day, nature almost always won. Even against mm-hmm. people who thought they were winning. It wasn't until, like, I'd say until the 1600s that we really started to conquer the land, and then 1700s for sure. We started, math blew up. 1800s,
the Industrial Revolution.
Had dominated
mm-hmm.
by that point.
Yeah.
And just put an iron grip on it. Like, pun intended, seriously, iron grip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after Christianity, the perspective on fae changed from being that neutral force that's out there that don't mess with it, because it is just not something you want to mess with, to the fae, the devils, and the demons that lurk in the shadows, and anyone who sees them as anything other than that is bound to go to hell. Yep. But not that it really matters, because fae is false. I mean, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe they're creepy little children now.
It was my favorite theory.
Yeah,
I thought that one had the most creativity and the most intrigue to it.
I like that.
If I were to believe in a theory, I don't believe this. I'll tell you what I believe in a minute. If I were to believe in a theory, I would think that the children were some sort of government experiment, a la Stranger Things, and that they sometimes were just escaping.
Okay.
And the men in black, like the FBI, CIA, whatever they are coming to, like, fetch these kids. Like, shame on you, you got out again.
Okay. But what do you actually believe?
I think that this was the internet's first creepypasta.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking it's all fake. Every single bit of it. If it's not fake to somebody, it's a bad trip.
Yeah, I think it was the internet's first creepypasta, and people latch onto this stuff and like to believe it and like to think that they've had experiences like that.
Right. I mean, people thought the Blair Witch Project was real.
That's true. People did think the Blair Witch Project was real. FYI, it wasn't real.
By the way,
spoiler alert.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else to touch on?
No, that was it.
Huh?
It's a short one this week.
Okay.
Because all the stories were more or less the same. I didn't want to continue to tell you the same story over and over again.
All right.
When I knew you weren't going to believe it.
Well, you want to head us out?
Yeah. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TTS Podcast. If you like what we're doing, you can jump on over to iTunes, leave us positive reviews. It helps us move up in the charts, helps people see us. You guys must be doing it, because we're getting more and more listeners every week. Thank you for the work you put in. If you really like what we're doing, you can head over on to our Patreon, check out the goodies you get over there. You get slightly less uncut videos of the podcast. So.
Usually there's something kind of funny that doesn't get cut out in editing, or you'll hear us joking around and laughing a little bit just before we start recording, maybe a little bit after.
Corey makes funny faces.
Usually, yeah. Most of the time, that's just how my face is, though.
You'll get merch.
Yeah.
You'll get all sorts of cool stuff over there. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you can email us at thetruthisomewhere.podcast@gmail.com. If you want your own merch, you can buy it at thetruthisomewhere.threadless.com.
Or become a patron.
And get some of your own merch without buying it, other than paying on Patreon. Show notes that Corey works hard on is at thetruthisomewhere.com.
They're usually just a joke.
Yeah, that's true. They're usually a joke, but they're funny, so you can jump over and read the funny jokes. Show notes, thetruthisomewhere.com, and I think that is finally all I have for you. We should just pre-record this and stick it on the end of every podcast.
Nah, this is fun.
Thank you so much. The truth is somewhere, you guys. I don't think we found it today, but keep looking.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to 2019.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year!